let's talk about Dave Chappelle. Let's talk about Dave Chappelle and his criticism of American free speech while in Saudi Arabia, of all places. He was at the Riyadh Comedy Festival. He was there with several other comedians, and I do mean quite a few others. He was there with Aziz Ansari, Jimmy Carr, Bill Burr, Louis C.K., Tom Segura, Andrew Schultz, Whitney Cumming, Pete Davidson, and way more than that. Those were just the bigger
lineup.
ones that I thought of. And all of this is this comedy festival was part of Saudi Arabia's Vision 230, which is their way of, they're looking to diversify their economy into sports, arts, culture. You mentioned golf earlier. That's a big part of it. It was made known last week, a very, very big announcement that WWE will be hosting WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia this year. Wow. They've already been doing, so they signed a 10-year deal with Saudi Arabia like about a decade ago now to do these crown jewel shows over there, because the Saudi Arabians, the royal family loved like wrestling in the 90s, so they bring back all the old legends and stuff like that. How can you not, right? But they had this show, and Dave Chappelle had a lot to say, it seems, about the concept of free speech in America. He says, right now in America, they say that if you want to talk about Charlie Kirk, that you'll get canceled. I don't know if that's true, but I'm going to find out. It's easier to talk here than it is in America. So,
I don't know about that.
Look, I don't know. Look, he's in a comedy set, so it is fair to point out that I don't think that what he was saying was a joke, because it was made known that there was strict contracts for this event that meant that there was defamation clauses in there and who they could not criticize. And at the top of that list was the Saudi Arabian government, obviously. And saying that it's easier to talk here. Look, he's Dave Chappelle is Muslim, so that also goes along with it. I believe.
I didn't know
somebody can fact check me on that, but I believe Dave Chappelle is a Muslim.
Oh, more you know.
But you know, the idea that speech is freer, and look, Mark Maron, who I criticize plenty because I think he's kind of a douche, he pointed out they pointed out Jamal Khashoggi.
The journalist?
Yeah, the journalist several years ago, and all of that. And I just want to know, did you guys see the story and what you thought?
Dave Chappelle is a Muslim, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So what did you think? Like, do you chalk this up to humor? Do you chalk this up to being it's part of a comedy set, therefore?
I mean, I don't think that's really much of a joke. I can't see that being part
I'm saying
of
that's like that's the leverage they use to be like, well, it's that. But
no, I mean, like, let's see what happens if he makes a joke about the crown or Muhammad or anything. Let's see how that goes. I can't imagine it'll be the same if you were here to make those kind of jokes, because people make fun of Donald Trump and all these other people all the time, and they're still fine.
Yeah.
They might get some backlash on the internet, but it's not like Saudi Arabia where you end up like Khashoggi.
They pointed out. Oh, go ahead.
Khashoggi is.
He was a dissident journalist.
Yeah,
Fair.
Khashoggi's a dissident journalist who his like basically his beat was to criticize the royal family and stuff. So I think Khashoggi's a bit different than
a little extreme, but I mean, still, if they make a joke about the crown, I can't imagine it ends well for Dave Chappelle. Like,
I do think so. I think that it would probably be frowned upon, but I don't imagine they would kill Dave Chappelle if he made it.
Okay, so no,
I didn't. No, they wouldn't do that. But
they signed contracts that had defamation clauses in this, that you could not critique the government or the religion. Okay, so they knew that going in. Yeah. So the hypocrisy of signing a contract with strict defamation clauses telling you something you can't talk about, and then criticizing American free speech is the height of hypocrisy. And look, I don't know if this is just the bit he was doing because he was there. I generally like Dave Chappelle in most regards, but I think that in a lot of ways that comedians, it's their job to criticize what is going on right now. And it's our job to criticize them if we feel that what they're doing seems to be not lining up with reality. Payments for these, at least from what I learned from these articles, there was a really good article from MSNBC, why Saudi Arabia's comedy washing scheme is so insidious. And they say that there was payments from anywhere from $350,000 all the way up to as much as $1.6 million. I'm guessing that was to Chappelle and to Bill Burr.
A big name.
And look, Mark Maron, like I said, for all his faults, in my opinion, turned it down, citing the human rights record over there in in Saudi Arabia. My issue is more, look, you want to go do business in Saudi Arabia? I don't have a problem with that. Like WWE goes there, and there was a lot of criticism coming the way of CM Punk this year because he used to call out WWE saying that what they were doing in Saudi Arabia with those Crown Jewel shows was blood money. But guess who performed in Saudi Arabia, or who's performing in Saudi Arabia?
He's just turning heel.
CM
That's
Punk?
just part of the thing.
CM Punk is doing that.
Yeah. He's a champion, I think.
So Bill Burr also had plenty to say on this, and let me see if I can pull this up here as well. Here's what he had to say. He says that this was his point defending the experience. He goes, it's one of the top 3 experiences I've ever had. You think everybody's going to be screaming death to America, and they're going to have like fucking machetes and want to chop my head off, because that is what I've been fed to believe about this part of America, about this part of the world, excuse me. So that's BS as well. You were brought there under contract, and you were brought there as a celebrity. So your critique of whether it's death to America, you're the exception and not the rule. He says it was a great experience, that part of the world, and to be that part of the first comedy festival over there in Saudi Arabia. The Royals loved the show. Everybody was happy. The people that were doing the festival were thrilled. Yeah, because you abided by the terms of the contract.
I'm sure it was a great time for everybody.
I'm sure it was a great time for everybody. 110%. I saw this really funny post. It says, really odd quote from him, uncharacteristically soft and uncritical. The check must have been fucking huge.
Must have been nice.
Look, this is the guy who talks about Luigi, who valorizes Luigi, right? So I was thinking about like, is this the type of thing where it's like a weird form of like cultural relativism? Is the Saudi Arabian government better than a U.S. pharmaceutical executive?
Obviously, no. They're not better than a
I know
US,
that. You know that. But you get my
pharma
point.
executive. The whole cultural relativism thing. It's beyond me how people can look at most other countries, like the vast majority of other countries, and say they are better than the United States. Like even at the United States worst, we've been better than not only most of our contemporaries, but also most countries in history, most governments in history.
I would say that. Yeah, I would agree with that.
And so the idea that you would be in Saudi Arabia criticizing the United States, I understand why it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths.
Like if all it was just them going to Saudi Arabia to do a comedy show, I'd be like, okay, fine. Like I said, WWE goes there all the time anyways. But they go there and they give, for instance, they give the women the option to not go. They don't have, the women do not have to go. I mean, everybody's given the option, but specifically the women, because they have to dress very differently when they go and perform in Saudi Arabia as opposed to how they perform when they're here in America. They understand that culturally, they're not necessarily going to see it the same way. But ironically enough, I imagine that most of those women would be hesitant to go online and criticize another culture because somebody's going to tell them that they're xenophobic.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you see what Shane Gillis said about it?
What do you say?
I believe, and that was from that article you said, he said, you don't 9/11 your friends or something like that. Like Shane Gillis, I don't know if that's a direct quote, but that's what they had put in the article.
Look, I mean, and when it comes to like 9/11, like even I don't believe that the government of Saudi Arabia was in the know about 9/11. Like, I don't think that the government of Saudi Arabia was like, oh yeah, we should help, just because they were a lot of Saudis. There's no more evidence that it was the government of Saudi Arabia involved than there was the government of Egypt. Just because two of the guys were Egyptian doesn't mean that
it was
Egypt was involved.
You know what that means?
So,
we're turning this whole conversation to dancing Israelis. And
of course it was the Jews.
Oh, jeez.
And the USS Liberty. Let's go!
Yeah.
Oh, the USS Liberty. Where's Ian when you need him?
Not just Ian, but what's a traveler? What's his name?
Weary Traveler.
Weary Traveler.
Weary Traveler would love
chat?
that.
Yeah.
We're talking about USS Liberty, Weary Traveler.
One
for you.
comedian, Tim Dillon, said he was disinvited to attend the event for an unearthed joke that he had previously made about Saudi Arabia, which arguably sends the message that if you wish to be invited to the Riyadh Comedy Festival in the future, you better not make jokes about the country, even if you're back at home. So again, free speech, it's under attack here in America.
Yeah, look, free speech means that you are free to speak.
Yeah.
And that also includes free to not speak because you're getting dollars.
Yeah.
Like the idea that that somehow being paid, and so you're like, all right, I will willingly go into this contract or enter into this agreement and not speak about these people. It's not in any way an infringement on the freedom of speech if you're just like, well, I'm not going to talk about the kingdom because the kingdom is giving me a boatload of money. Like that is not violating the freedom of speech at all. You are literally free not to speak as well. That's something that people should probably do more of, right? You're free to shut your friggin' face,
Especially on the internet.
you know.
I wonder what Dave Chappelle even meant when he said like he's gonna see that they're going to do something to him when he comes back. Like, what does that mean? First of all, Dave Chappelle is uncancelable.
Yeah.
As we've stated time and time again, they have tried
Many times.
Many times they have tried. Just look at those Rotten Tomato ratings for his comedy specials with the critics versus the audiences.
True.
And then look at the amount of people. And again, this is something where you do this long enough, you critique Hollywood or any of these celebrities long enough, and you're going to find yourself on opposite sides of the conversation on multiple times. Plenty of people agreed with him when he wanted to go out and criticize trans issues and talk about those things, and plenty of people did not like him at that point. And I wonder what they would say with the people who cheered it on when that guy got on stage. You remember when Dave Chappelle was on stage and a guy tried to stab him with a knife that had a gun that had a knife attached to it
2 years ago or something like that.
I wonder if the people who were cheering that on are now like, yes, Dave Chappelle is a bastion of free speech because he is criticizing the way that the Charlie Kirk discussion is happening in America. That's just the way it is, and it's depressing, but you should try and stay intellectually consistent on all of it. And I'm critical of him in this respect because it just seems like if you're not going to address the fact that there was a big fat contract with big fat stipulations attached to it, then I don't think you're being intellectually honest there. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.